something is moving beneath the surface. You feel it in the silence of the nights, in the restless rhythm of your thoughts, in the way the air itself seems charged. The third week of September is not just another date on a calendar. It carries the weight of turning points, the kind that don't ask for permission before they arrive. Throughout history, shifts have rarely announced themselves with clarity. Empires fell, rivers changed course, seasons bent in unexpected ways. But those who were awake, those who trained their minds and anchored their spirit, were never caught unprepared. They understood that every great storm does not only destroy, it also clears the ground for something new to rise. This moment is no different. The changes that gather now are not to be feared, but to be faced. Energy moves through cycles. Some weeks are soft as water, others strike with the force of thunder. When the wave comes, it exposes what lies within you. Have you built only comfort, or have you cultivated strength? Is your house of discipline strong enough to hold when the winds begin to howl? In this teaching, I will guide you through the principles that have carried Shaolin monks through centuries of uncertainty. You will hear why inner stillness is stronger than any external storm. You will learn how discipline transforms discomfort into mastery. You will see why letting go is not weakness but power, and why service and compassion are not luxuries, they are shields. Stay until the end, because every principle builds upon the next. What may begin as knowledge will end as preparation, and preparation is the root of freedom. You are walking into a new season. Walk awake, walk ready. Welcome to Shaolin Soulfire. If these teachings serve you, I invite you to subscribe and continue this path with us. The mind is like a courtyard. If you leave its gates unguarded, strangers will walk in freely, noise, distraction, fear, and desire. Before long, you no longer live in your own house. You are a guest inside your own thoughts. This is why the first teaching is awareness of attention. Where the mind rests, the body follows. Where the eyes linger, the spirit bends. If you do not guide your focus, the world outside will do it for you, and chaos will rule your inner space. Consider a monk in training. He rises before the sun, but his body is still heavy with sleep. If he allows the thought of fatigue to grow, it spreads like fire. But if he redirects his attention toward breath, toward purpose, toward discipline, the fatigue dissolves. The body obeys the command of focus. In your daily life, the same law applies. The news, the voices of others, the constant hum of demands, these are the strangers at your gate. If you do not see them clearly, they will carry your attention away, piece by piece, until nothing remains of your own intention. Begin by noticing. Do certain thoughts return again and again? Are there emotions that keep repeating, no matter the situation? Patterns reveal where your attention is secretly bound. Each time you see the pattern, you hold the key. Awareness loosens the chain. The Shaolin path does not demand that you silence every thought or fight every emotion. It asks only that you learn to see them as they arise, without losing yourself to them. Attention is not a rope that binds. It is a tool you can hold. Once you know where it rests, you know who is truly in command. A river carves its path, not by seeking ease, but by pressing against stone for centuries. Discipline follows the same law. It does not grow in the warmth of comfort, but in the steady push against resistance. There will always be a voice inside that whispers, rest a little longer, delay a little more, choose the softer road. Comfort is persuasive, but it is not a teacher. Growth does not appear when the path is smooth. It appears when the body aches, when the mind resists, when every part of you wants to turn back. That is where transformation begins. The ancients knew this. Warriors rose before dawn. Monks sat unmoving through the cold. Scholars copied texts by candlelight until their eyes burned. Each act was small, but each act was also a declaration. Mastery is worth more than comfort. Think of the forge. Metal is placed into fire, hammered again and again, shaped only through heat and strike. Without the fire, there is no blade. Without the blows, there is no edge. In the same way, discomfort is not an obstacle, but the fire that reveals what you are becoming. When you choose discipline over comfort, you enter this forge willingly. You accept the sharp wind on your face during practice, the silence of hours given to study, the repetition that feels endless. Each time you do, something within you hardens and sharpens. Discipline is not punishment, it is freedom. It frees you from being a servant to passing moods. It teaches the body that it can endure, and it teaches the mind that it can lead. And when the inevitable storms of life arrive, you do not collapse, because you have already learned to stand firm in fire. A warrior who only knows how to strike is half blind. Power is not only measured in movement but also in stillness. The body may leap, twist, and strike with precision, yet the same body must also know how to sit in silence, how to breathe deeply, how to wait without agitation. In the tempo, the rhythm of training reflects this truth. Hours of martial practice are balanced with hours of meditation and qigong. One moment, the hall echoes with the thundering steps of 1,000 kicks. The next, the same hall is silent, filled only with the sound of slow breathing. Each side nourishes the other. Without stillness, movement becomes reckless. Without movement, stillness grows stagnant. Life also demands this balance. There are moments that call for swift decision, for courage, for stepping forward without hesitation. Yet there are also moments when the wisest action is to pause, to watch, to allow the storm to pass before taking a step. Those who only act burn themselves out. Those who only wait miss the flow of opportunity. Mastery lies in knowing the difference. The river teaches this lesson well. At times it rushes, breaking through stone with unstoppable force. At times it moves so slowly it seems still, yet beneath the surface the current is alive. Both are expressions of the same river. When you learn to carry stillness into action, your strikes are precise, not frantic. When you carry action into stillness, your silence is alive, not empty. This is the art of balance, an inner compass that does not swing wildly with the winds of life, but holds steady. It is here, between motion and stillness, that true strength is found. A mountain is not formed in a single night. It rises grain by grain, stone by stone, until its height pierces the clouds. The same law governs the mind. Resilience is not built through one grand effort, but through countless small acts repeated each day. Shaolin discipline emphasizes these micro moments, a breath taken with awareness, a posture corrected when the body begins to fold, a small ritual observed before practice. These may appear insignificant, yet they are the foundation of strength. One breath calms a single thought. 10 breaths reshape the mind's rhythm. Thousands of breaths taken daily with intention become an unshakable ground. The monks speak often of posture, because posture shapes the state of being. To slump is to surrender. To stand tall is to remind both body and spirit of their strength. Each time you lift yourself upright, you affirm discipline over neglect. Over months and years, this simple act carves resilience deeper than any speech of courage could. Rituals also hold this power. Lighting a candle before meditation, bowing before training, taking tea in silence. These are not empty gestures. They anchor the mind, reminding it that discipline lives not only in great challenges but in small repeated devotions. When hardship comes, it is these habits that hold you steady. A storm cannot uproot a tree whose roots have been nourished daily. In the same way, life cannot easily shake a spirit trained in the art of mindful repetition. The lesson is clear. Do not overlook the small. Each short breath, each mindful correction, each ritual honored, these are the hidden bricks of resilience. Over time, they form an inner temple, one that no storm can break. The loudest battles are not fought with fists or weapons, but in silence behind the walls of the mind. Thoughts rise like restless soldiers, fear tightens its grip like an unseen chain, and laziness whispers with a soft and tempting voice. These are the opponents every human faces, and they do not retreat simply because we wish them away. Shaolin discipline teaches that the greatest enemy is not outside, it is within. A rival can defeat you once, but fear can defeat you daily. A critic may wound you with words, but self-doubt can wound you endlessly. Laziness may seem harmless, yet it quietly steals years of potential without leaving a sound. Crisis brings these inner forces into the open. When change arrives suddenly, when the path shifts, when the ground beneath feels unsteady, the mind grows louder. Old fears return. Hidden doubts swell. The urge to delay, to escape, to close the eyes and wait for the storm to pass becomes overwhelming. Yet this is also the chance for mastery. Fire reveals the quality of metal. In the same way, crisis reveals the quality of one's inner training. Those who have avoided their inner voices find themselves ruled by them. But those who have faced them daily through meditation, through discipline, through honest self-reflection, discover that they are stronger than the storm. To confront oneself is not an act of violence but of courage. It is sitting with fear until its shadow fades. It is noticing the pull of laziness and choosing movement instead. It is hearing doubt and answering with action. The inner battlefield is where resilience is born, and every victory there shapes the outer life more deeply than any conquest in the world beyond. A hand that clings tightly cannot receive. The more we grip the past, the more our palms are filled with dust. The Shaolin path reminds us to grow, we must let go. Expectations, old wounds, the fragile armor of ego, the identities we build to please others, all of these weigh the spirit down like stones in a traveler's pack. There is an old teaching of the empty cup. A student eager for knowledge comes to the master. As the master pours tea, the cup quickly overflows. Still the master continues pouring until the tea spills onto the floor. The student protests, but the master replies, "You cannot fill a cup already full." The meaning is clear. As long as the mind is crowded with fixed ideas, pride, or past burdens, it cannot receive what is new. Letting go does not mean forgetting who you are or erasing every memory. It means loosening the grip on what no longer serves you. The past has already given its lessons. Expectations only trap you in disappointment when reality takes a different shape. Ego demands recognition but offers no peace. False identity may please the world, but it leaves the heart restless. When you release these weights, something remarkable happens. Space opens. Stillness appears. Like a garden cleared of weeds, the soil is ready for new seeds to grow. Fresh insight, deeper peace, and unexpected strength begin to take root. True mastery is not about accumulation, but about freedom. The lighter you travel, the farther you can walk. By emptying the cup, by opening the hand, by loosening the chains of ego and expectation, you prepare yourself to receive the wisdom and power that are waiting to enter. A tree does not fear the storm when its roots run deep. Wind may bend its branches, rain may strike its leaves, but the trunk stands firm because it is anchored to the earth. Human beings are no different. When life's storms arrive, uncertainty, loss, sudden change, the question is not whether they will come, but whether we are rooted enough to withstand them. The breath is the first root. It is always present, always available. When the mind begins to scatter, when emotions rise like waves, the simple act of returning to the breath steadies the inner ground. One slow inhale, one longer exhale. This rhythm reminds the body that it is safe, reminds the spirit that it is still centered. The body is the second root. Awareness of posture, of how the feet meet the floor, of how the spine supports the head. These are small acts, yet they anchor you in the present moment. To feel the body is to remember that you exist here and now, not lost in the fears of what may come. Place is the third root. Notice the room you are in, the sounds around you, the weight of the ground beneath. External storms lose their power when you return to the reality of where you stand. The mind often wanders into distant battles, but the body remains here. Returning to place gathers the scattered mind back into one point. Presence itself becomes armor. It does not block the storm, but it prevents you from being carried away by it. In stillness, you find clarity, and in clarity, you find strength. Like the rooted tree, you may bend, but you will not break. The storm will pass, and you will still be standing. Water is the oldest teacher of adaptability. It has no fixed shape, yet it can take any form. In a cup, it becomes the cup. In a river, it becomes the current. Against stone, it does not resist with force, but with patience, until the stone itself is carved away. Shaolin wisdom carries this lesson deeply. Strength is not rigidity, but the ability to flow. In training, a single form may be practiced thousands of times, yet never expressed in the same way. One day it is sharp and fast, another day slow and deliberate. The form remains, but the expression shifts to meet the moment. This is not inconsistency, it is adaptability. To lock yourself into one way of moving, one way of thinking, is to become brittle, and what is brittle always breaks. Life, like combat, is filled with sudden changes. Plans fall apart, relationships shift, opportunities vanish, storms appear without warning. To resist these changes is like trying to block a river with your hands. The more you fight, the more exhausted you become. But if you learn to bend, to adjust, to move with the current rather than against it, the force of change itself becomes your ally. Adaptability is not surrender, it is a higher form of discipline. It asks you to stay rooted in principles while flexible in expression. Just as a bamboo bends in the wind but does not snap, so too can the mind adjust without losing its strength. When you stop seeing change as an enemy and begin to treat it as a guide, you discover leverage hidden inside the unexpected. Every turn, every disruption, every shift becomes fuel for growth. To be fluid is not weakness, it is the secret path to enduring power. There is a kind of power that conquers others, and another kind that uplifts them. The first is loud, demanding recognition. The second is quiet, often unnoticed, yet it leaves a deeper mark. In the Shaolin way, mastery is measured not only by strength of body or clarity of mind, but by the presence of virtue. Without compassion, discipline turns cold. Without ethics, power turns destructive. The ancient monks understood this balance. They trained with intensity, their bodies honed into weapons, yet their purpose was never conquest. Their training was guided by principles. Honor, humility, service, the fist and the heart were taught side by side, so that strength would never lose its anchor in compassion. Compassion is often mistaken for softness, but it requires immense courage. To meet another's suffering with openness rather than avoidance, to extend kindness when anger feels easier, to forgive when revenge would satisfy the ego, these are acts of great strength. They demand more control of the self than any physical battle. True discipline is not proven in how fiercely one can fight, but in how gently one can treat others after the fight is over. Compassion gives power its direction, like the handle gives purpose to the blade. A sword without guidance cuts blindly, a warrior without virtue destroys without meaning. When you choose compassion, you are not surrendering strength, you are mastering it. You show that your power is not ruled by impulse, but by wisdom. Compassion expands what discipline alone cannot achieve. It creates harmony, trust, and lasting influence. To walk this path is to understand that the greatest victory is not over another person, but over the part of yourself that chooses hardness when the heart calls for grace. When the river runs clear, you can see the stones at its bottom. But when storms churn the water, the river turns dark, hiding what lies beneath. Human beings are much the same. In quiet times, we believe we know who we are. Yet when crisis comes, when the waters rise and the ground shakes, our true foundation is revealed. Behind every thought, behind every story you tell yourself, there is something constant, an essence that does not change with the seasons of life. The Shaolin path points again and again to this awareness, the recognition of true nature. It is not the roles you play, nor the masks you wear, nor the titles you carry. Those are fragile things. What remains when all of them fall away, that is your real strength. Crises act as mirrors. They strip away comfort, leaving only what is solid. A sudden loss, a sweeping change, a massive shift in the world. These do not create your identity, they reveal it. If your life has been built only on approval, it crumbles when approval disappears. If it has been built only on possessions, it collapses when possessions are gone. But if it has been built on awareness, discipline, and values that endure, then no storm can erase them. The monks train for this truth. Endless hours of repetition, fasting, meditation, these are not just exercises, they are rehearsals for crisis. They teach the mind to remain steady when the body protests, to remain clear when the world presses in. In those moments, identity is no longer a mask but a lived reality. When everything else falls away, who are you? The answer is not found in words but in presence. It is the quiet awareness that remains when all else is stripped bare. Preparation does not begin on the day the storm arrives. By then it is too late. The roots of the tree must already be deep before the wind begins to howl. In the same way, readiness for great change is built in the quiet days before it comes. The first step is mental reorientation. Each morning, guide your thoughts before the world seizes them. A few moments of silence, a breath that steadies, a clear intention spoken inwardly. These small acts remind the mind who leads. When the winds of change blow, the mind that is already trained will not be easily scattered. Next is daily discipline. Do not underestimate the strength built from repetition. Rising at the same hour, tending to the body, practicing stillness, keeping promises to yourself. These are stones placed one by one into the foundation of your inner temple. When discipline holds, chaos cannot easily enter. Letting go is also part of this preparation. Release the need for certainty, the grip on how things must unfold. The one who clings is shaken when the ground shifts. The one who opens the hand finds balance even when nothing feels secure. Finally, anchor yourself in values. Ask what truly matters: honesty, compassion, endurance, faith. These are pillars that do not collapse when circumstances change. Hold to them as a warrior holds to the edge of his blade, with trust and respect. When you combine these, clarity of mind, steadiness of practice, freedom from clinging, loyalty to values, you create an inner temple stronger than any outer wall. Change will test it, storms will strike it, but it will not fall. Because resilience is not built in the moment of crisis, it is built quietly, day after day, in the unseen discipline of the soul. Change will always arrive, whether we welcome it or not. The difference lies in how we meet it. If the mind is scattered, the storm feels endless. But if the spirit is steady, rooted in breath, anchored in discipline, softened by compassion, then every wave becomes a teacher, every challenge a chance to grow. The teachings you have heard are not meant to stay as words, they are steps for daily living. Begin with one, notice your thoughts, breathe with awareness, rise with discipline, or let go of one burden you no longer need to carry. Small acts become a path, and the path becomes strength. In this way, change no longer feels like something to fear. It becomes the very forge that shapes you, polishing away what is fragile, revealing what is unbreakable. You do not merely endure, you transform. May these lessons guide your days with calm, with clarity, and with quiet courage. If they have spoken to you, I welcome you to walk further with us. Join our journey here at Shaolin Soulfire, like, subscribe, and keep walking this path of mastery together.